What quietly went away without anyone noticing? 3D TVs. Actual toys in cereal boxes and Cracker Jack boxes. And contests where you could win just by checking the packaging instead of scanning a QR code and making an account on duckingmountaindew.com. They've graduated from marketing campaigns to personal information aggregators. Exactly right. Enter the code to see if you won. Step 1. Give us your email address. Taco Bell used to have a Chihuahua as their mascot. Little dude just disappeared one day, and anyone born after 2000 probably doesn't even know what I am talking about. I still have a stuffed toy version of that dog. He says the usual "Yo quiero Taco Bell," but then also quotes a very specific Taco Bell ad that cross-promoted a Godzilla movie. He says he ear lizard lizard lizard. And I think I need a bigger box. Stumble upon. I remember all my classmates and my mom used to use it years ago. Movie trailers with that deep voice guy doing the voiceovers. The net neutrality thingy. Most providers decided to adhere to net neutrality, understanding that new administrations can change the makeup of the FCC. Also, a bunch of states implemented their own, which complicates stuff if you want to not be neutral. Easier to just be neutral. There were also lawsuits that dragged out neutrality ending for year, blunting the speed of any change. McDonald's all-day breakfast menu. I will never forgive them. Yeah, those $2 sausage and cheese McMuffins were tasty and a decent deal. Sobe. What the hell? This is the answer. I haven't seen Sobe in years now that I think about it. You know, I think the last time I had one was at a Quiznos. X-Files music. Ronald McDonald. Too many people are petrified of clowns. Also, McDonald's was under a lot of heat for how they market to kids. Childhood obesity and all. For sure. It worked on us as kids in the 70s. Some places had the big MCD characters out front. Hamburglar, etc., you could walk up and play under them. Ronnie would come to your school, teach you about crossing the street. You'd get a cup of that orange drink and a hamburger afterwards. Lol. Hess such a clown. I think people have noticed now, but at the time, nobody noticed it was happening. 24-hour stores. I live in a major city and we don't have a single 24-hour grocery store ever since the pandemic. That was basically the only thing that changed for me during the pandemic. I couldn't get groceries after work at midnight. My cousin from any family party he ever came to. He was the master of the quiet exit. He would show up, make sure he said hello to everyone, maybe carry a beer around, and then it was like, "Where's Rich?" every dang time. He passed away quietly last summer, rip Rich. He passed away quietly last summer, rip Rich, true to form. To Rich, for keeping it real. Acid rain. It was a huge environmental issue in the late 70s through the early 90s. Rain was acidic and damaged fertile areas, among other things. In the US, there was much research done and eventually industrial regulations were put into place. Companies were allowed to decide what approach they chose to take as long as the results showed the appropriate amount of reduction in sulfur dioxide emissions. Unfortunately, positive news doesn't sell, so news outlets did not do justice to reporting this success. As we went into the 2000s, hardly anyone remembered what was done. And the ozone layer repairing. Picture-in-picture TVs. I miss this. Playing Crash Bandicoot in the tiny corner of the screen while my mom watched General Hospital on the rest of the screen. That's a great use of it. I never thought of that. They should have advertised them for that instead of sports. Service clubs. For example, the Rotary, the Lions, the Shriners. Oh, they're still around. But a common complaint among them is they've got no members under 70 and no new members are lining up to get in. Edit, the number one question seems to be, what the hell are these, anyways? They're social clubs with the primary objective to be doing projects to better the community. They might raise money to build a new playground, a new hospital, for scholarships, stuff like that. They raise money for stuff. My local Kiwanis Club started a young professionals membership to encourage younger people to join. The problem was that we were all in new jobs in our low mid-20s and couldn't make the meetings on Thursdays at noon since we had to be at work. They tried to fix that by offering night meetings once per month, but then none of the old people would show up and anyone who did would rag on the young folks for not showing up to the Thursday noon meetings more often. They refused to change their ways in order to stay relevant. And then they were a bit hostile to anyone young who didn't behave in the exact way they wanted. I've seen this here in a college town as well. They want younger people, under 40, but anyone can attend, which is saying a lot, but they hold the meetings in the middle of a weekday when most people work. The college students have classes. The working people are at work. Only retirees can attend, but they kind of imply that they're not welcome, then they wonder why nobody shows up. I have a pretty lax workplace, but the idea of just dropping the middle of a Thursday to attend a social club is so alien to me. In my 20s, going to the doctor was practically impossible. Google+. There were dozens of us, dozens. Google Plus was the only social media our school forgot to block on our laptops, so I used it a lot. RIP. Even they forgot it. Or they didn't expect it to be a problem. Statistically, OP may have been the only user at their school. Politicians feeling ashamed when they're caught lying. Them getting disgraced and turfed when it happened. Waterbeds. Used to have one. Nothing like forgetting to turn on the heater an hour before bed in the middle of winter. Wait. I had a waterbed from roughly age 11 to 18, and I never knew they could have a heater. I was just cold. The American chestnut tree. We sing chestnuts roasting over an open fire every year and yet never question why we have no chestnuts. All the chestnut trees are dead is why, you see. We noticed and we're working to get them back. Just taking a long time. I live near one that never died. One of the freaks that somehow is immune to the infection. Unfortunately, it's behind a really tall fence. I'm also near to a few newly planted hybrid saplings that hopefully also have the immunity. You may want to notify the American Chestnut Foundation, the U.S. Forest Service, or your state Forest Service, in that order of importance, or all of them, to let them know if they're not already aware. I'm sure they'd love to see a potentially immune chestnut. It would certainly help the restoration effort. The Last of Us, tree version. The Last of Nuts. Facebook Poke Wars. That class for keyboard typing and stuff. Then all the kids were better at computer stuff than teachers. But now, these Zoomers with their Apple Pads and cellular telephones don't know how to type, so it's coming back around. Mavis Beacon 2, the retypening. 2 Mavis 2 Beacon. Mavis Beacon 2, type hard with a vengeance. Anyone remember spinning rims on cars? Nah, my rims never spun, to the contrary. You'd find that they were quite stationary. HQ Trivia. I remember the thrill of winning and getting 17 cents. Absolutely worth it. 67 cents was my greatest HQ Trivia achievement, been living off those winnings ever since. Murder hornets. It's one of those rare things that was actually dealt with. The Washington State Department of Agriculture did a great job. None were found in Washington State or BC in 2022. Yeah, they caught some, glued tiny transponders on them to follow them back to their nest. Destroy nest, repeat. For real? That's amazing. I'm looking that up. Yup. We have some badass entomologists here. Geekwire.com. When you turn off the TV, how the image would shrink to a dot before slowly fading away. And then when you run your finger on the screen and hear the crackle and feel the static on the glass. Edit, a few words. Got EA and LMFAO. Very 2011. The word cyberspace. I'm still here crossing the information superhighway. I want to know WTF happened to my salsa verde Doritos. Jack Nicholson. He felt his game slipping, so he retired. A couple projects have courted him for a comeback, but apparently he has trouble remembering lines now, and he'd rather not go out on a weak note. I heard a thing about Louis C.K. offering him a role in Horace and Pete. Jack declined and told him, "Do you know what I did today? I took a book outside and read it. Why would I want to duck that up?"